welcome to what is the last episode of 2025 of Spritz of Wisdom. Today's episode is a little bit different because I'm actually recording it, for full disclosure, on the Monday before Christmas so that I can actually switch off over this period. So we haven't got a sip of the week because, of course, the week has not really happened yet. However, we are going to dive straight into the full pour of this episode because today we are talking about my vision board for 2025. I'm talking you through it, what came true, what didn't, and also what my 2026 vision board is shaping up to look like. So let's begin, first of all, with this whole concept of a vision board, because I do believe that people consider this to be a bit of a woo-woo concept. But this is something that I have really been doing pretty much every year for as long as I can remember. And I have to be honest with you, it's a really wonderful way to focus yourself on the things that you would like to achieve for the following year. Now, I do think that the way I do vision boards has changed recently. So I used to do like a physical vision board where I'd cut pictures out, I would put them onto like a pin board and I would hang it up in my bedroom. But recently I've chosen to do more of a digital vision board using Canva and having it as a screensaver on my kind of applications so that I can see them every time I turn on my computer, every time I turn on my iPad, they are there and I can see the vision boards. Now, I will say that with vision boards, traditionally they are for like the year ahead, but I do think that sometimes it can help to have them for every quarter, maybe, so every 3 months, maybe every 6 months. Because the thing is, when you set goals for an entire year, I do think that it feels like such an expansive amount of time that it can be difficult sometimes to really track your progress and to really stay motivated with them. But if you create a vision board every 3 months or every 6 months, it feels a little bit more tangible. It's far enough away, but it's not so far enough away that you feel that you could actually achieve what it is that you want to do. Now, in terms of my vision board, I select a word of the year. Now, this is a word that is something that I keep in mind throughout everything that I do in that particular year. And it really helps me to stay focused and in a way is the umbrella for the rest of the goals that I set myself for that year. So my word of the year for 2025, as you can see from this picture, if you're watching the video, you'll be able to see my vision board now. But if you're not, don't worry, I will explain to you what the pictures are. My word of the year in the center part of my vision board has this word, was evolve. And I have to be honest with you, did I evolve in 2025 or did I evolve? Yes, I did. It has been an incredible year of evolution. And I'm so grateful that I've had this front of mind this year to really keep myself in the mindset of evolution, because it can be really easy sometimes to keep things as they are because, you know, we're in our comfort zones. It feels safe, all of that stuff. But evolve has been a central theme for me this year, and it has really tied into the phrase of the year that I have on my vision board, which is nothing changes if nothing changes. Now, these two complement each other so well, the word and the phrase, because this year I had to make a number of different changes in my life, changing city that we live in, changing my kind of way of working because now I work solely from home, changing the way that I manage my brand, changing my life, having to restart everything from scratch in a completely new place. So many different changes. But honestly, sitting here now in December of 2025, I can say to you that if I hadn't made those changes, my life would still be one of stress that it was 12 months ago, you know? So nothing changes if nothing changes. You can talk about the things that you want to do differently in your life. You can imagine and dream about the things that you want to do, but if you don't take that action, nothing is going to change. And so that has been a really, really important mantra for me for this year. Now, if we look also at this vision board, you will see that I have the images of both the Aperitivo Lounge and the Espresso Club. Now, I had a bit of evolution with this during this year because essentially the Aperitivo Lounge used to be what I called one of my YouTube memberships. I had 2 YouTube memberships at the beginning part of this year, the Espresso Club and the Aperitivo Lounge. And with the Aperitivo Lounge on YouTube, it was like this all singing, all dancing membership. I would do a live call once a month. I would have like, you know, extra access to videos and things like this. And then with the Espresso Club, it was like a shorter sip of behind the scenes action. So you didn't get the live call, you didn't get the Q&A in this sense. But I changed things this year and streamlined it down. And now the Espresso Club is the only YouTube membership that I have. And it is a short sip of behind the scenes action every month. I give you a behind the scenes video of my life here in South Italy. I give you early access to my long form videos every week. And also I post a kind of post in the community tab section of my channel asking for your questions, and I will make sure that I answer them about moving to and living here in South Italy or in Italy in general. So I'm really, really happy that I streamlined that because I decided to make the Aperitivo Lounge become my community. Now, this is the first time that I'm going to be actually creating and hosting a community, and I'm super excited. It launches at the beginning of January, so I'll put a link to the waitlist if you're interested below in the show notes, and also up at the top of the video if you're watching this on YouTube, for example. But I'm really, really excited about this because I have wanted to have a community space for so long. I have realized how fundamental community is to your life here in Italy, but to life in general. And it's not easy to build connections here. Trust me, I have learned that from firsthand experience. And so I'm really excited to be building this. And the Aperitivo Lounge just felt like it was the best name for this community because an aperitivo is like a typical social occasion here in Italy. People gather together, they have a drink with friends or colleagues or family before they start their meal of the day. And it's just a really, really lovely moment to relax and to have kind of lovely conversations with people. So I felt it was the perfect vibe for my community. And it's been so nice to have these on my vision board this year because it's just given me focus with the things that I want to build. Now, you'll also notice there is a picture on my vision board of a podcast studio. And it's interesting because I resisted having a video podcast for so long. I'm so old school in that sense, in the sense that I've grown up with podcast, always been audio only. But really, I realized that it is time to move with the times. And, I had a review and audit done on my YouTube channel, and the results were like, stop posting audio only podcasts to YouTube. They're absolutely tanking. They're not working. And it's true, they weren't. Like YouTube does not support audio only. It is a video based platform. So me trying to put my podcasts there to allow you to listen to it and to reach my existing audience there just wasn't working. And so it was so nice to actually sit with it and think, okay, I want to rebrand. I want to have a format. I don't just want it to be me talking to the camera all the time because I do that with my YouTube videos. I want it to be significantly different. And this idea just came about because I love a spritz. I liked the concept of naming it after a typical Italian aperitivo drink. And it was just really, really lovely. And it tied in beautifully with like the name I'm giving to my online community. So it just felt really, really good. And honestly, I've made it come true that I've created this set, this studio. I've got like the mic and everything that I need. And it's actually been much easier for me to set up than I thought it would be. So really, really wonderful thing that came true for me this year. Okay, some other things that were on my vision board for this year. I had a picture of the silver plaque that you get from YouTube when you reach 100,000 subscribers. And I had kind of edited the picture to say like Ms. Brittany, my YouTube channel. Now, this wasn't something that I achieved this year. I did achieve 10,000 subscribers. And I think at the time of recording now, I'm 12,500, which is incredible. But 100,000 is like a big feat. And I think that in a way, I got a little bit obsessed with the numbers at points this year and forgot that actually they are just vanity metrics. It will be incredible to arrive at that point, and it will continue to be another goal for me for 2026. But it is something that I realized this year I wasn't meant to become obsessed with the numbers because, and this is something that I have seen like talked about a lot recently on kind of social media. You don't want to grow so quickly if you don't have the correct systems in place. Now, consider that I have been doing everything single-handedly this entire year with my brand. If I were to suddenly grow to 100,000 plus subscribers, that would involve different workflows and different maybe opportunities that would come on the back of it that perhaps I'm not quite ready for yet without having the correct systems in place. So I think that I was a little premature in this goal for 2025. I wanted it perhaps for the accolade. Absolutely. I'm going to be honest. It's amazing to think that you've reached that point, which is why YouTube rewards you with this silver plaque. However, I think in order for me to arrive at that point, it's got to be in a sustainable way, a way that I could be willing and able to accept any amazing opportunities that might come on the back of it, rather than kind of being a little overwhelmed because I don't have the correct systems in place. So I didn't achieve it this year, but I think it was for a very good reason. Now, I also had on my vision board for this year a book, an open book with a tree growing out of the middle of it. And I did that for a couple of different reasons. I did it because I wanted my mind and my knowledge to grow this year through reading. And I have to be honest with you, I haven't been as good a reader this year as I had really wanted to. So I feel like I've only fulfilled this halfway because the latter part of this year, when I went to London, I bought 2 paperback books from the airport. And I have to be honest with you, I'm only like 100 pages into one of those books and I started reading it at the end of October. So I've really kind of dropped out of the habit of reading. And so now I want to get back into reading for 30 minutes every day. I want to make it something, whether I read when I'm eating my lunch or I read for a period of time in the afternoon with a cup of tea, whatever it may be, whatever works for me on any given day. But I want to get back into the habit of it because reading enriches your mind and it helps you to grow. And this is kind of where this picture really stood out for me, because if you read things, you learn new concepts. And I think a lot of my consumption this year has been through YouTube videos, through online formats. And whilst that's been really, really good for me and my development, I do think that there is a certain kind of magic that you gain through reading that you cannot obtain through watching a video. So that's something that I didn't quite completely achieve this year, but it will continue to be a focus for me into 2026. I also had a picture on my vision board of me at Google's head office, YouTube's head office in London, which I actually took in 2024 when I attended a creator event there. But I've had it there just to remind me of how important YouTube is for me and my brand. I love YouTube, and I remember people telling me that YouTube is one of the hardest platforms to grow on, and it's true. And I think so many people give up with YouTube because they realize it's not as easy to grow on as it might be on other platforms. YouTube requires an investment of time from your audience to engage with your content, to watch it, and hopefully to comment and interact with it. But it's not like Instagram, which tends to be faster consumption, TikTok, and those other platforms. YouTube is a greater investment that's required from your audience. And so the quality of what you build there is better, but it takes time in order to do so. And so YouTube for me is and always will be my primary focus platform, I think, because I see just how beneficial it is as a platform and the kind of community that you can build there. But I have it on my vision board just to remind me of that focus and just to remind me of how fortunate I was to even be able to go into Google's headquarters in London, into the YouTube headquarters, and actually have an event there. It was absolutely phenomenal. And so these little things remind me of the experiences that I'm having along the way to building my brand. Okay, the next picture I have on my vision board is actually a quote that is, "Take the risk or lose the chance." Now, I actually have a poster of this very same quote in the corridor of my home as a reminder that in life, you're going to be taking risks. And I took a lot of risks this year, pretty much through all the changes that I have made. There has been an element of risk, but if you don't take the risk, you lose the chance. Like, this is the biggest thing. We get so stuck sometimes in being risk averse, oh, it's probably safer not to do this. It's better to keep doing the same things we've come to know and understand very well, but you're missing out on some incredible chances if you do that. And so that has been a central theme for me this year, alongside the whole nothing changes if nothing changes and evolve. They all go really, really well together. But it's so true. Like, you've got to take risks in life. You're never, ever going to arrive, in my opinion, at the point where you know everything. You might feel that you are educated enough to a certain degree about something, but you're never going to feel completely ready. There is always going to be an element of risk in everything that you do. And I have learned through my experiences this year that you've just got to take that risk. At points, I feel within my life here in Italy, I have become risk averse, like, building a business, things like this. I was a lot more like gung ho about it when I lived in the UK. I was ready to do it. I was excited. Here, I've been really, really cautious about it. So I feel like you have to just take risks sometimes. Don't listen to the limiting beliefs of other people, the naysayers, whoever it may be. You've got to take those risks in life that you know are going to work for you. And if they don't work out, I'm pretty certain you will learn some incredibly valuable lessons on the back of them, which in a way is experience that you can't really buy. The next thing that I've got on my vision board for this year is another quote, "Let them." Now, this was inspired by a book called Let Them by Mel Robbins. And actually, it was an incredible book. And it's inspired the vision board because I have learned that a lot of human behavior, a lot of interactions I've had with people this year is out of my control. Like, you cannot control the actions of other people. And it's really interesting because my last YouTube video of this year is actually about the psychology of people here in Italy, because in the course of 7 and a bit years of living here, I've really come to understand how people fall into a number of different categories and how it's so interesting to observe the way people behave. But fundamentally, you have to let people be them, and you have to focus on what is within your control, which is you, the way that you behave, the actions that you take. And so that has been like a really fundamental message for me all year. year, because generally speaking, I have always cared a little bit too much about what people think of me or about what people think in general. But I'm starting to see as well that when people behave in a way that I could perceive as being not very polite or not very good, it's not a reflection of me. It is a reflection of them and what they've got going on in their own lives. And so that is a kind of fundamental principle that I have returned back to throughout this year. Let them be them, and let you be you. Okay, what else have I got on my vision board? We'll kind of condense some of these. We've got the hands on top of each other, and we have wine glasses clinking. These pictures were for me to symbolize community, because community is something that I have really, really wanted to focus on this year across my social channels, across building my own social community and building my very own real life community as well. And I feel like I've built aspects of those throughout this year. My online community is not 100% ready yet, so I haven't quite fulfilled that goal. I feel like I've got better at building the communities on my social channels, and still I think that there is more that I can do to improve that aspect. But I have managed to build a sense of community where I live now, which is lovely, because when you change cities, towns, regions, whatever within Italy, you really are starting from scratch, and it takes so long to build those connections. But I feel like that is an aspect that I can say that I have arrived at now. So that element I have completed, shall we say, for 2025. So I'm really, really happy about that. And then if we look at the other pictures on my vision board, we have a map. The map for me was to indicate travel. Now, I didn't really get to travel very much this year, so that was something I didn't really succeed at. I only went to London. And I think, of course, we moved. That was the biggest thing. We moved home, and it took up the majority of the year to really get settled here. So I didn't travel as much, but that's something that I would hopefully like to change from next year. Then we have a picture of money, euro notes. I did this to keep me focused on becoming more financially stable. We had such a difficult period in Palermo. The primary focus of moving back was to get ourselves back up on our feet again and be in a more stable position financially. So that was there to remind me of the importance of looking after your money, saving your money, spending your money in the right ways. I've definitely been streamlining things this year to make sure that I'm really only paying for the right things and not just spending money here, there, and everywhere just because I feel like I need to have something. But yeah, this has been something that we have achieved this year, and I'm really, really happy because it has made me appreciate money so much more. And then we have an exercise bike. Completely didn't achieve this at all, but I wanted to buy an exercise bike this year, and I wanted to do some more exercise. I didn't really do it, I'm honest. I've never been a huge lover of exercise, but I know that especially now working from home, living a more sedentary life, shall we say, I need to incorporate exercise into my day, but also for my mindset as well, because I think that through exercise, you do feel better. And so this is something that I want to continue focusing on in 2026. I definitely want to focus on improving the exercise regime that I have. I would like to buy an exercise bike next year, absolutely, and just incorporate elements of movement in my day more, because it will help me to feel better. And I always find that days where I'm a bit more active, I always feel so much better than days where I'm a bit slower. So definitely something to take into next year for sure. And then I think that pretty much sums up all of my vision board for 2025. So it was a bit of a mixed bag. We achieved some things, didn't achieve other things, and some things were like 50-50. But I think it's been really lovely to have this vision board and to be able to adapt it as the year has gone on. So for example, I changed the logos of the Espresso Club and the Aperitivo Lounge during the year. And so I kind of changed them on my vision board to keep it all up to date. So it's been a really, really nice thing to do. I think for 2026, I have a clear idea of what I'm doing, and I'm currently working on my vision board, so it's not finished yet. But my word of the year for 2026 is success. And the reason I've chosen success is because I want to make a success of myself, and I want to make a success of this brand that I'm building, and I want to have a successful life. And I say it with no kind of like modesty. I want to have success. And success for me looks like building something that I'm passionate about, having a sense of community, having more visibility as a brand, and becoming more well known in this space and these circles for what I talk about. And so that is a big focus for me. And also feeling success within my life, like feeling healthy within my body, feeling fit, having like positive routines and rituals and mindsets and practices that are enriching my life. And the mantra that I'm really holding on to for next year is success is a decision, because it is. Every decision we make in life either takes us closer to where we want to go or further away from it. And this is something that I really, really want to remember for 2026. whenever I decide to do something, I want to be asking myself, is this decision taking me closer to where I want to go or further away from it? Like, success is a decision. This is going to be a fundamental thing that I keep in mind for next year, because next year my primary focus is to build my online community, the Aperitivo Lounge. I'm incredibly excited about this space. I want it to be a really helpful, uplifting, supportive environment. So that is going to be where a lot of focus goes, particularly in the first part of 2026. I want to build my YouTube channel. I would like to reach 100,000 subscribers next year. I've said it. It's a huge leap, absolutely. But you just never know. You know, when you start to gain visibility, when you start to grow, when you start to resonate with more people, the subscribers come. And so this is something that I would absolutely love to reach. I'd love to grow my channel, to reach more people, to have more of an impact on people's lives. I would also like next year to just get a bit more serious about the brand that I'm building, really outsource some of my services. So I am considering outsourcing video editing. So if you know of any good video editors, or you yourself are one, please get in touch, drop me an email and introduce yourself, because this is something that I definitely want to start outsourcing from next year, just to free up my mental capacity to do more and to start setting those little systems in place that mean that you can build success upon systems, right? Also, I want to get back into reading more, exercising, having movement in my day, and also exploring more of Italy. I've spoken about this for as long as I can remember, but I want to explore more of Italy, and where we live now puts us in a much easier position to do that because we are on the mainland. So I can take trains to places. I don't just have to fly. So it's so much easier now. I want to make the most of living here to actually explore new places. Take you with me on my YouTube channel. Absolutely. Why not? But that's something else that I would really like to do. And to be less shy in speaking Italian next year. I mean, really, I give this advice to every single one of my students, and I really just don't listen to it myself. I want to speak more confidently next year and to continue to learn more. Like, I've even started to follow some more channels now on YouTube in Italian, whereas before I would just stick with the English speaking channels that I know. I was actually watching a video yesterday of someone, and they were fantastic. It was everything they were talking about life in Italy I could relate to. And I was like, this is why I need to listen to more Italian channels. So really, really interesting. I just want to continue to grow, continue to evolve. I don't think evolution is something that I want to forget about next year, but my focus is on success in everything that I do. And success requires systems. So I've got to be building those out as well. But my chin for you for this last episode of 2025 is consider doing a vision board. I really, really recommend it. Like, as you can see from what I've just gone through, a lot of what was on my vision board came true, or if it didn't, it provided clarity and focus for what I want to do next. We keep so much of our thoughts and our ideas in our head, but in our head, it becomes lost and confused and overwhelming. When you have something on paper, on a document that you can see at a glance, the things that are really important to you for the upcoming year, it really does make a difference in terms of the priorities that you place in your life and the steps that you take to achieve them. And you can make this vision board, like I say, for the entire year or for a shorter period of time. But I think it really gives you clarity by having it in place. And if you don't want to do a vision board, like if I really haven't convinced you in this entire episode, then come up with a word of the year or a mantra, something that will guide you throughout the year, so that when you're making decisions, when you're prioritizing, when you're planning things, you've got something that is keeping you on track to really arrive at the ultimate goal that you have set yourself for the year ahead. So this is my chin for you. I wish you a wonderfully happy 2026, and I will see you next year.